the more we talk about the hard things or the awkward things, the less power those things have over us. And the more easy it is to maybe not conquer them, but to move on with them in tow instead of them pushing you around.
Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. Sean, I wanted to let you know that I've been trying out one of the things that you brought up on the podcast, I don't know, a few episodes ago, but it's the daily calendar rather than just like the monthly calendar that most normal people do. You said you've been experimenting with the daily and weekly calendar. I tried to make myself a daily calendar the other day. I'm still experimenting with it. I blocked out hours worth of time to get certain things done, and I really liked it.
Cool.
But I also think that I need some instruction because there's certainly some things that I'm like, okay, this didn't work that well,
Yeah, it's fairly easy. You have like a 7 a.m. spot. You just write in where you're gonna do at 7 a.m.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So what happened for you that day, or what did you experience?
The night before, actually, I sat down and I went into my calendar, my Outlook calendar, and I just like, okay, I need to do laundry, so I'm going to give an hour and a half to do laundry.
Okay.
And I need to edit a podcast episode, so I'm going to block out 3 hours for that, and I need to, whatever.
Yeah.
4 or 5 different things. And some of the things that I think I overestimated time on, and I think I mainly overestimated. I don't think I really underestimated that much. So I guess, what do you think you do with the time when you finish something early?
Sure. That's
just move on to the next thing, or
that's the best position to be in, right? The harder one is when you run overtime.
Yeah, exactly.
And you start to realize you're not going to get everything done, which may or may not be a concern. When you're done early, what I've done is start the next project.
Yeah.
Because essentially, when you block out your time, or when you identify, okay, these are the top 3 or top 5 things to do on Saturday or whatever day it is, you're predetermining that those few things need to be done before anything else. So getting it done early allows you the flexibility to get all that stuff done still. And maybe at the end of the day, have a little bit of flexibility to enjoy a longer meal or catch up with a friend over the phone or something of that nature.
Yeah. I think where I got in trouble, is I would finish something half an hour early or whatever, and then try to squeeze something more in that I needed to do. And I like your thing better, where it's like, okay, there's some relief at the end, not just trying to squeeze more things into that time.
Yeah, I think when you have something else come to mind, the real question that I ask myself and encourage you to do the same is this thing that just popped up a must do today?
Yeah.
Or can it wait for Monday or next Wednesday or whatever? Right. Not for the sake of procrastinating, but for the sake of remembering your priorities and checking those off the box. Another friend of mine that I follow, he keeps a pen and paper handy because things are come to mind all the time, right?
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that tends to derail our energy or our efforts. Some of it, sure, gotta take care of it right now. Oops, forgot to do it yesterday. It's gotta be done. but most of the time it's something that can wait till tomorrow or the next day or next week.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that I need to remember with scheduling. Like, that's the point of a schedule, to put it on.
Right. The whole mantra of get stuff done is to do it now. Just get up and start doing it. So every now and then, that's a struggle for me as well, because I know that, it's on my mind right now. So it'd be quick and easy, but some things are never quick nor easy.
Yeah. Today, we're going to do our top picks for season 6. Our category today is drink of choice. So when you go out with friends, what's your go-to drink that's, always kind of a standby choice?
For me, lately, it's been a margarita. And that's typically just a classic or house margarita, always on the rocks, always with salt.
Yeah.
To me, it's hard to mess a margarita up.
So I realize the margarita, but do you take it shaken or stirred? That was that was a dumb joke.
Oh, I wasn't. However they want to make it, I don't know. I guess I've never really cared.
James Bond? Do you know?
Well, yeah, but does it make a difference with margaritas?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it makes a difference anyway. With martinis either, but all right. Mine is a gin and tonic. And that's just a standby because my dad always did that, like during the holidays, or even just that was his drink of choice. So I kind of learned it from him. And I think it's just a good drink for lots of different situations.
Who's gin? You had a bad joke. I had to throw it out there. Is that with ice? Cold?
Yeah.
Chilled? Yeah.
Yep. Ice. Yeah. And a lime squeezed in if you've got that handy as well.
Okay. So. All right. So next time we're hanging out and any of our listeners are nearby and they want to send a drink to our table or just come join us, you've got some options.
All right. The conversation we want to have today is regarding episodes 155 and 157. Those were a few weeks ago. And in those episodes, we kind of talked about FA and the symptoms of FA and how they affect us every day. And also the mental aspects of FA and just how they affect our emotions and our thoughts about ourselves and in society and whatever. And we really noticed, both of us remarked to each other that just talking about those things really took some weight off our shoulders. And I think what we want to talk about today is, why is that?
Yeah.
Why does just talking about things like that take the weight off?
For me, it all goes back to that survey, right? You started asking me questions and I realized I haven't given some of those questions much thought. So over this past several weeks, that's all I've been thinking about, right? Or that's been heavy on my mind. And it's one thing to talk about it, you and I, friends, family, whatever the case may be. But there was a whole nother layer for me not too long ago when I wrote about it. And I've written some in a journal, and then I also do that online column for Friedrich's the Taxi News. And it was in this exercise of writing that I realized those concerns and fears and doubts and whatever else comes with it. It's like a whole nother level of impact when you talk about it and when you write about it. And what I believe I'm experiencing, and this is true in all walks of life, not just FA or the last few weeks, but in childhood, in going from one career to another, in relationships, being married and then not being married, all these different elements. It's
Yeah.
like when you don't talk about it, at least for me, you feel like you're the only one
Totally.
and nobody else can understand or can relate or can support you in a way that is meaningful or significant. And I'm convinced that the more we talk about the hard things or the awkward things, the less power those things have over us. And the more easy it is to maybe not conquer them, but to move on despite of them, or to to move on with them in tow instead of them pushing you around.
Yeah. I think that when we don't talk about things, it's because we're scared of them or something. And that gives those things more weight. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit, but exposing it really is what helps us think. I started seeing a therapist for the first time. I've had like 6 or 7 sessions, and I'm really liking it. And I have been talking a lot and he's been listening. And I get to the end of a session and I'm like, all right, what the heck did we accomplish? But then the whole week, I'm thinking about the things I said and the few things he said. And I'm figuring out what I really think. Like, oh, I said that, but that's not what I really think. And so I'm kind of refining my thoughts around those subjects. And so I'm figuring out how therapy works, right? And I think us talking to each other is a form of that, right? Just getting it out there, figuring out what we think about it, and then refining those thoughts in our own head.
Yeah, except you don't have to pay me $150 an hour. All right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said when we take the time and energy to wrestle with a thing or a thought or whatever it may be. Early on, when you started that thought, it was a matter of being afraid of that thing, right? Or just uncomfortable with that issue or hardship. And I think it's more personally, I don't know that I'm afraid of a whole lot that I'm up against. What's more nerve-wracking for me is what other people are going to think of me because of that thing, or because of that concern, or because of that choice. And I wonder how much of that exists for people. Sure, I don't doubt it. There's elements of FA I'm afraid of. There's elements of cancer, elements of sickness that I don't want to deal with. But I don't know if it's because I'm afraid of the outcomes, or I'm afraid of how that's going to impact my relationships or what other people think of me. What do you think?
Well, I'm just thinking, like, just playing that out. So probably one of the reasons it's powerful to talk about that stuff is when you talk about it and people don't be like, oh, you're an idiot. And when they go, yeah, I agree with you, and this is what I think about sometimes too, then you can start changing your thinking for, oh, nobody thinks I'm an idiot because I think these things.
Yeah.
It's that validation of other people maybe that's valuable, because I definitely agree with you. I think you and I operate on a similar level as far as molding our image to what we think other people might think, and the best way to present ourselves. And I think sometimes that can get in the way of really getting to the bottom of an issue.
Which, again, is the value of therapy, right? Or the value of friends that don't let you stop at the surface answer of, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, it's good. No, it's fine. It's good. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
all those things. I just hearing you talk about that reminds me of our guest we had a couple years ago, James Miller, a clinical psychologist, if I remember correctly. But we were talking about how I think it may have been you, how you felt like you were a burden because you're in a chair, or you're a burden because you need help. And he straight up asked, has anybody ever told you you're a burden? And I'm not gonna lie, that out of 100 and some odd episodes, that line right there has stuck with me over the years, because it's like so much of what we go through is just in our head. It's not reality.
Yeah. And I think realizing that is a huge step, because when you start thinking that way, you can start to observe your thoughts. I think that's one of the things that I've been able to do lately. I'm usually consumed, and we all are consumed by our thoughts, right? But when you can almost step outside and observe your thoughts and be like, what's really going on here? And that thought is not even true.
Have we talked about the Enneagram?
We have briefly.
Over the last few months, I've read a few books, and I've, a very light study of the Enneagram. And what I love about it is it's helping me understand why I'm wired the way I am. And the whole idea is what you're talking about now. You can sort of remove yourself and observe your own thinking, and you can be aware of why you feel that way, or why you're thinking that way, or why you act a certain way. And when you realize some of those natural tendencies, you can change them or alter them or slow them down a little bit, because the whole idea of knowing the Enneagram, or your personality type, or whatever you might refer to it as, is understanding how and why you're wired, so that you can be more conscious when you start to go in an unhealthy direction.
And it takes a third party, either through an article or a real person, a therapist, or a friend, to remove yourself, and they can help you observe through their perspective.
By the time this recording comes out, there's another column that I wrote. I wrote about the resource that people bring to life when they ask questions, almost like a child would. Why? Well, why is that? Like I mentioned a little bit ago, it's that surface answer, like, yeah, life is fine. But a kid, or maybe a therapist or a best friend, doesn't let you stop there. They're like, oh, really? What's going well? And, oh, why is it going? Well, what do you mean? How? And I had a conversation like that recently with
a kid,
with my best friend, actually.
Okay.
We only talk a couple times a year. We don't live near each other anymore. But I was wrestling with some stuff, and I just threw it out there, thinking it'd be a real quick, like, oh yeah, okay, well, good luck with that kind of conversation, right? But he literally was like, why? Why do you feel that way? Why do you think that way? Why is it an issue right now? And he even joked, he was like, I'm not trying to like make you uncomfortable. I'm curious if you're willing to talk about it. Why do you think this way? And I realized as we we're talking, like, holy cow, that was a really valuable conversation, because we didn't stop at the normal surface stopping point, right?
Yeah. And the value of it wasn't so much for him, for his knowledge. It was for you to figure out what you think.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, he's a good guy. He loves me. We're friends. I'm not saying this to be to downplay him, but there's a part of me that bets he doesn't care what the answer is, right?
And probably that's okay.
Yeah, totally. He's just helping me I would imagine he was helping me maybe come to terms with it on my own. And I didn't have to pay him $100 and something dollars. So, speaking of, I'm hoping that we've added some value to a listener or two. And today only, we're doing a discount rate. This 30-minute episode, we're going to charge just $25 for this. So feel free to get online and pay us.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, if people want to, they can visit the donate link on our website, right?
Yeah.
They can pay right there. This is another example of one of those times when we have a valuable conversation that just helps us kind of think about things, think things through. And conversations like this are going to help us in the future, maybe step outside of ourselves, like we were saying, and observe the process and be like, how does this work? Why do we think this way? So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Let's wrap this episode up. As always, we've got some thank you notes to share. We encourage you to express some gratitude in your own life, whether it be with a note, a text, phone call, whatever it may be. Get on a podcast and yell it out there for the world. But today, I've got to say thank you, Kyle. It's been a while now, maybe a month or 2 months. But a while back, you and I got to do an interview with the MDA, and they published an incredible story in their Quest magazine publication. I want to say it came out maybe early September, late August.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say thank you. I don't think we've mentioned it on the air. So I'm saying thank you to MDA and the folks that helped put that together and everybody that has reached out and seen it.
Yeah.
Funny story. My mom got a copy of that magazine. I think you had sent one off to her, arranged that. And at first she was looking at it like, why did I get that? Well, what is this? But she just flipped through it, just like you would a book or a magazine, just kind of thumbing through. And of course lands on the centerfold. Yeah. And that's a giant picture of you and I. So she was like, oh my God. And so that was pretty neat. So a huge thank you to MDA, Quest Publication, everything that goes into it, and Elizabeth Millard, who wrote that and made us look better than we probably really are.
All right. Today, my thank you goes out to the social committee at my condo complex. I've been living here for a year now, and I still don't know all that many people, partly because of COVID. Like, nobody's really going around shaking hands and stuff like that, but getting back into it. So we had an outdoor Labor Day barbecue, and I went, and there was like 200 people there. And I didn't know anyone, like, except for like my immediate neighbors, and I didn't see them there. Anyway, I just pulled up to this table and said, hey, is anyone sitting here? Can I sit with you guys? And they're like, yeah. And it turned out they were, part of the social committee, and they had planned and organized this whole thing, and they invited me to be on it. So I've been to one meeting, and it's just really nice to get that invitation, have people reach out and start to be a part of the community.
Do you feel like you're in college again, or do you feel like you're in a retirement community?
I feel like I aged about 20 years, but I enjoy it. Yeah.
It's a neat way to meet people and be connected with some regulars, I guess you will.
Yep, exactly.
Well, Kyle, again, thank you for an incredible conversation. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in today and for being a part of the journey of this show. If you're digging it, please continue sharing and liking the show. Tell a friend. Follow us on social media. We're on all the things. We'll link a couple things in our show notes. Be sure to check those out. And we look forward to chatting with you again soon. Until next time, keep living with urgency.
Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. This show is possible with your support. Visit twodisableddudes.com to donate.
Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app.